My name is Anthony Moosley, and I learned the hard way that some places exist only when they want to be found. What would you do if you stepped into a cruise ship elevator expecting a short ride to your cabin, only to arrive on a deck that doesn't exist on any map? I used to think cruise horror stories were exaggerated, drunken tales told at pool bars, floating hotels, endless buffets, smiling staff. Nothing scary about that. But fear doesn't need darkness to grow. Sometimes it hides behind luxury, polished brass, and soft music. Sometimes it waits between floors. That night, I wasn't chasing adventure. I was just restless. The ocean rocked the ship gently, like a cradle meant to lull me to sleep. Instead, it kept me awake. I decided to explore, maybe grab a late snack. The hallways were empty, carpets swallowing my footsteps. Everything felt too quiet for a ship carrying thousands of souls. I told myself I was imagining it. Ships are big, people sleep. Still, I felt watched, like the ship itself was aware of me moving through it. I reached the elevator and pressed the button without thinking. The doors slid open smoothly. I stepped inside. That decision still follows me in my dreams, because some buttons should never light up, and some floors should never answer your call. The elevator smelled faintly of cleaner and salt air, a strange mix of sterile and oceanic. Soft music played overhead, a cheerful tune that felt out of place at 2 in the morning. The control panel gleamed, rows of buttons labeled Deck 1 through Deck 12. I pressed Deck 8, where my cabin was. The doors closed with a gentle chime. As the elevator began to rise, I leaned against the wall, eyes half closed. That's when the lights flickered. Just once at first, then again, longer. The music warped, stretching into a distorted hum. The elevator jolted hard enough to make my stomach drop. I grabbed the railing as the car shuddered. The digital display glitched, numbers scrambling. Then it settled. A single number glowed red, 13. I frowned, convinced it was a malfunction. There was no Deck 13 on the ship. Cruise lines skipped it out of superstition. Everyone knew that. The elevator slowed anyway. Metal groaned softly as it stopped. A cheerful ding echoed through the car. The doors began to slide open. Cold air rushed in, carrying the smell of rust and dust. Not ocean, not cleaner. Something old. I should have stayed inside. I didn't. The hallway beyond the doors was completely dark. No emergency lighting, no ambient glow, just blackness swallowing the edges of the elevator light. I stepped out slowly, heart pounding, expecting the lights to flick on. They didn't. The doors slid shut behind me with a final hiss. I turned, reaching out to call them back. There was no elevator, just a solid wall where the doors had been. My pulse roared in my ears. I backed away, hands shaking. As my eyes adjusted, shapes emerged from the darkness. A long corridor stretching impossibly far. Walls with peeling wallpaper yellowed and cracked. Light fixtures dangled uselessly, bulbs burned out. Cabin doors lined both sides, all of them open. Inside each room, furniture sat covered in white sheets. Beds, chairs, lamps, frozen like abandoned exhibits. Dust coated everything in thick layers. No footprints, no signs of recent life. It felt wrong, like the ship had shed an old skin and hidden it here. I called out, my voice echoing hollow and thin. No response. Then I heard footsteps. Slow, heavy, deliberate. They echoed from somewhere far down the hall, coming closer. Panic surged through me, sharp and blinding. I ran. The carpet muffled my steps, making it feel like I wasn't moving fast enough. The hallway stretched as I moved, doors repeating endlessly. No matter how far I ran, the end never came closer. The footsteps followed, never rushing, never slowing, always behind me, always close enough to hear. I ducked into one of the cabins, hiding behind a sheet-covered dresser. The air inside was stale, heavy with decay. The footsteps stopped outside the door. Silence pressed in so hard it hurt. Then I heard breathing, not frantic, not human. It sounded wet, curious. The sheet in front of me shifted slightly, as if brushed by unseen fingers. I bit down on my sleeve to keep from screaming. Suddenly, everything lurched violently. The floor tilted, the walls groaned. Lights flickered to life for a split second. In that flash, I saw movement at the end of the hall. Tall shapes, wrong shapes, bent in ways bodies shouldn't bend. Then darkness slammed back into place. The ship shuddered once more, and the world dropped out of under me. The next thing I knew, I was standing in the elevator again. The doors were open, bright lights, cheerful music. A couple stepped in beside me, laughing quietly. The display read Deck 8. My knees nearly gave out. I stumbled into the hallway when the doors opened, gasping for air. I didn't sleep that night. The next morning, my friends said they couldn't find me for hours. They thought I'd passed out somewhere. Security reviewed the footage. They showed it to me, pale-faced and quiet. On the recording, I stepped into the elevator alone. The doors closed. They opened seconds later, and I stepped forward. But there was no hallway, no deck, just empty space beyond the doors. The camera showed me walking straight into nothing, then vanishing. The footage cut out after that. The crew apologized and blamed a technical glitch. I disembarked at the next port. I didn't argue, I didn't look back. Some nights I still hear footsteps when I close my eyes. Slow, heavy, patient. So let me ask you, if an elevator stopped on a deck that wasn't on the map, would you step out? Or would you stay inside and pray the doors closed again? Because some places aren't meant for the living. Some floors belong to what the ship forgot, and some doors don't lead back. If this story chilled you, there are many more waiting. Stories of roads, rooms, and rides that don't obey reality. Subscribe now if you want to hear them. Turn on notifications so you never miss a nightmare. Drop a comment telling me what you think was waiting on Deck 13. And remember, next time an elevator stops where it shouldn't, don't step out, because the ship might not let you come back.